And just, I mean, Joe summed it up real well there. This community is pretty awesome, and we have, I counted about 50 people in this room tonight, and when I tell my colleagues that I can get 50 people to show up to a meeting in the middle of winter, they're blown away by that, especially in this little town. I mean, that would be the equivalent of getting like 2,000 people to show up to a meeting in Eau Claire. So thank you all, and thanks for being here again. So our last species group, bass, and I feel a little guilty. I say the word bass and then I immediately start talking about harvest, as Wayne probably starts glaring daggers at me. But this is a big part of what our management issue has been up here with bass the last couple of years, is trying to push this selective harvest concept, use it productively to improve our bass populations and bring balance into our fish communities. So what I want to show you here is 4 lakes where we removed the minimum length limit on largemouth bass a number of years ago. And we did surveys before we did that, we did surveys after we did that. And what I'm showing you here is the percentage of the largemouth bass over 14 inches. Before the survey, or before the regulation change, and after the regulation change. And you can see that we're seeing some pretty nice increases on a lot of these lakes in the size of bass out there, and that's the idea. That's what we're trying to do with this, is focus harvest on the smaller, slower growing fish. If you're catching those bigger fish that are really fun to catch, letting those go, so that we're modifying our bass populations to have something that's more fun for everybody, and creating a little more balance in the fish community. So I've been pushing this for years. I wanted to report back and show that we do have some positive signs showing up in our surveys, and hopefully that's showing up in your fishing as well. And when we talk about people that are doing fishing, we should talk about the Hayward Bass Club. And as Wayne, would you like to come up? Sure. As Wayne makes his way up here, I want to share my experience this summer. I came out and was a volunteer guide for their event. Yeah. I was very impressed with the event. The kids had a blast. A good thing, and if they ever need guides, it's about as much fun as I had all summer. So thanks for having me. And
August 19th.
August 19th. Mark it on your calendars.
Okay, before I get into bass, the one thing I wanted to add to Joe's thing, I'm also on the board for walleyes for Northwest Wisconsin and for muskies incorporated as well. I'm retired from the military. I'm used to doing a whole bunch of things. I came back to town, so I got involved in all the conservation groups. My passion is not fishing. My passion is about getting outdoors and getting people outdoors, and mostly getting youth and families outdoors. And that's what this event Saturday is all about. It's going to be great weather. It's going to be warmer than it's been for the last 4 years. I've seen as many as 600 youth, children and youth out there. I don't say kids. I guess that's politically incorrect. At least that's what they taught me in scout school. But anyway, what we're going to have on Saturday is I got kind of recruited to come in there and to kind of paint another face on this event, make it more family friendly, and it is family friendly. You should see the families that come in with their fish, whether it be a 4-inch perch in a bucket of water that we bring right back to release hole afterwards, or this young man from the reservation last year who caught the biggest walleye of the whole event. I think it was 28 inches. You saw his picture on the front of the paper last year. LCU Boys and Girls Club brought a group of 20 out there last year. It was just awesome. But the families, and the families that are with other families, and the kids are not holding cell phones and taking selfies of everything all the time and all their friends. They're talking about fishing, they're poking around the fire, they're doing all this stuff. It's an awesome family event. And that's why we call it a family ice event. That group that Joe is the president of right now, in the last 22 years has raised $750,000. Mostly went into stocking, but also fish habitat projects. That's a lot of money. And that hats off to that organization for everything they do.
You know, Wayne, it really changes you when you're out there. It brings, you see the kids smile, you see what happens, it just changes you as a person. So, I would like to see everybody come out there and just see what it's all about. It's just not your basic organization that puts on this event. You have the Bass Club, you have Sawyer County Outdoor Projects. You have Nelson Lake Alliance with their security. They come down and they basically jump in. It's just not the Walleye Club. And when you guys are talking here tonight, it kind of hits me in the heart because I see everybody here what you guys do, it's a community thing, and you need to come to see it and donate to the club. You know, we need youth involved. We need the youngsters. There's a lot of clubs that I go to talk to, and I look at these organizations, and everybody's saying the same thing. We need some youth in there. You know, I heard fishing has no boundaries. We need youth. We need, as a community here, to get together and say, how can we get our kids out of the computer world, or maybe the computer world's the answer, you know, to get them to come to these and help out with these organizations. Everybody's getting older, and our organization and all these organizations, what can we do? And maybe we should all get together and talk and say, hey, what can we, how can we get our kids involved? Maybe we should go to these schools and say, hey, let's start a program that they have to actually do some volunteer work. I don't know, you know?
Well, that's what we're talking about tonight, and that's what a lot of these groups are
Yeah.
doing. So
Yeah.
this is way cool. Thanks for getting us together, Max. One thing we are doing, you know, I think you talked about you don't see kids driving through town with fishing poles. I saw quite a few this year.
Yeah.
But I was one of those kids in Hayward in 1959 and 1960, 1961 that, you know, go up and make it to early mass in the morning, and then I'd go fishing before chores, you know. So there's more and more kids that are starting to do that. Through the charter schools, there's several charter schools that have outreach programs to the outdoors. But anyway, the whole idea is getting everybody involved, getting the families out there to enjoy the outdoors together, respectfully, and energize the youth and families. Okay, I am the president of the Hayward Bass Club. I also run tournaments and other league events for a couple other bass organizations in the area. But the Hayward Bass Club is kind of really near and dear to my heart. When I retired from the military, I came here about 10 years ago. I took over the club. Well, I had some experience. I knew how to do an Excel spreadsheet, so they piled everything on me, and so it was kind of fun because I love bass fishing. I've been bass fishing in Sawyer County since the early '60s. Probably about 20 lakes in Sawyer County. And those are the same 20 lakes we're going to now. The Hayward Bass Club itself is about 70, 75 folks that go out all summer long, and it's local folks. They go out on Wednesday nights. We have leagues. We go out, we fish together. We bring our fish in the weigh-in, the ones that make it into the bag that are big enough. Oxygenated live wells. We do a quick in. We've got to keep them in water until the last second. We weigh them. It takes about 15 seconds. We get them back in the water right away, and we all come out together. Who are these people? These are grandfathers and grandkids, teams. These are husband and wives, boyfriend and girlfriend. It's just, you know, father and son. We've had several people that have passed away because they spent the last couple years with their family actually fishing in the club. Matter of fact, one of your friends, okay? He spent quite a bit of time in the last few years of his life out there with us, and it's a great social thing. It's a social thing. So a lot of people, we go out there and, you know, bass fishing, we've kind of pioneered the whole public awareness of catch and release over the years. There's other groups there's some trout folks that started much earlier, but, you know, the whole idea of catching fish, taking care of them, and releasing them healthy. You know, we catch probably about 499, 550 bass that we actually bring to the weigh-in scales every year. And we fish in Sawyer County, Bayfield County, and Washburn County. It's about as far as you can go after work on a Wednesday evening. We lose a couple fish every year because they get hooked too deep or the water got too hot or something. There's some factor. But for most part, they go back in the water very, very healthy. So it's the camaraderie, getting out. Then we go visit a local establishment that we work with. And a lot of families and a lot of folks have a lot of fun. They set this time aside to go out. And you know, we thrive on tourism, and tourism starts getting turbo May, June, July. And a lot of the folks that are involved in our Hayward Bass Club are in the tourism industry. If they didn't make that date every other Wednesday night to come out and fish, they might not get out 8 times during the summer, some of them, okay? So that's what the Hayward Bass Club's kind of all about. We're going to have our organizational meeting. Look for it in the Sawyer County Record. And by the way, Reagan, thanks so much for all the coverage you've done for the walleyes, for us, for everybody else. You and Terrell have just been fantastic. But look for us. We're going to have our organizational meeting. It's kind of a fun thing. You fish 3 or 3.5 hours, depending on how much light we have, every other week with a partner. And it's very easy rules, very kind of laid back. It's very, very social. But we do kind of play we all launch out at the same time. We all come back in. We bring our fish in and weigh them, okay? And that's way cool. So if you want any more information about the Hayward Bass Club, you can send me an email at haywardbassclub@gmail.com or look for the article in the paper. Is John Burkett going to be here for the Hayward Bass team?
I never heard from Joe.
Okay, here's a couple things that are going on. And thank you, Scope. Is Chris and DJ still here? Yeah. All right. Awesome, guys. They've been a partner with the Hayward Bass Club. One thing the Hayward Bass Club does, we have a lot of angler educated, certified DNR folks involved in our group. We've been running, I've been here 10 years, so 9 years we've been running our youth tournament. We take youth. We get as many volunteers, our own Bass Club members, local guides, maybe some guys that are a little higher up there fishing bass circuits, a little bit south of us or north of us. We bring them into town, ask them to volunteer their time, energy, and dollars. And what we do is we take as many youth out as we can. We put 2 youth in a boat, and they actually fish a tournament, just like you see on TV, with all the cheering and all that. Well, that's the one that Max was talking about. We do that the Sunday before. We do it on the last day of the fair, which is Sunday. So a lot of the youth do not have conflicts with that. We always do it the week before the school family fun day. We take them out for 4 hours. Last year we had 22 boats, 45 youth anglers, and I think 37 fish, 39 fish came in. Whether it be a 13-ounce bass or a 3-pound bass, every youth got on that podium. They had their fish. They got to release them. They got the cheers, and it was just awesome. Plus, Scope gives us some decent bucks to get them some neat stuff, and we get Muskie's Inc. and we get several other groups that give me some dollars, and we take them out, and it's really an experience for them. It's some folks. I mean, they schedule their whole thing around that thing every year because the families just love coming to that. We're starting something new. We got it started a little bit last year. It's not me. I'm helping them, but they're not represented here tonight. Tom Duffy and John Burkett are mostly putting it together, and they got some decent benefactors. But it's called the Hayward High School Area Bass Team. It's mostly Hayward High School kids and youth and the folks from LCO. But it's also going to be, there's a few folks from up in Cable, Drummond, down to Birchwood, Sawyer County, but Minong and so forth that are coming into town, and it all looks like we're going to have 25 to 35 high schoolers involved this year. Scope just gave us a wonderful grant. How many people have seen Major League Fishing? At least one episode of it on TV. Okay, it's kind of the fish never go in a live well. They're weighed right at the boat. They're recorded, and they use like computers or cell phones to talk to each other to keep all the standings and stuff. Well, we're going to that format because for the Hayward High School team, an adult has got to donate their boat time, and they've got to drive the big motor. And then 2 youth that are competing go with them. So the adult boat captain automatically becomes the judge. So in any kind of competitive fishing, there's the judge. And we're getting these really, really environmental conservation apparatus, these scales that can grab that fish without hurting it, weigh it in about 8 seconds, and then go right back in the water, and we can record what they're doing. So we're starting that, and that's, you know what, it's not you know, these video games, but it's kind of a lot of action, and that's what a lot of these youth are looking for, to get outdoors. So that's another initiative that you'll hear more about in the future. But thanks, Sco, for partnering with that and trying to get that thing going this year. I'll be around for any questions on either Walleyes for Northwest Wisconsin, the Bass Club, any of the bass circuits, or Muskies Incorporated, if anybody's got any questions at the end.
Just our last couple slides, and then we'll open it up. I know many have been waiting patiently to ask questions. I appreciate your patience. This is where we're going to be in 2018. A lot of big water. We'll be busy. We'll be out there. Our hatchery crews are going to be on Northland and Teal working muskies. We'll be working with them. Our treaty team will be on Grindstone Lake. So a lot of lake work, a lot of muskie work, some walleye, some bass. And then we have some big water on the riverside this year too. We're trying to figure out how to get out and do some good surveys on the Chippewa River. Namakogon, both the trout reach and going downstream to check on the sturgeon recovery there. So you'll hear more about sturgeon and Namakogon next year. So lots of fun coming up. I'm glad I have a very good crew, and a lot of you come out and volunteer throughout the year. We appreciate that too. That's a component of this community I haven't even touched on yet, but many, many faces here that have been out on the boat with us and have helped. So my final slide here is listing every single one of those partner groups that I named throughout this presentation. I think it's impressive to see them all in one place. Many of these groups have talked about how interconnected everything is. We have so many good groups, and they're all working for each other, and they're sharing people and sharing volunteers and resources, but they're all kind of working for a common goal, which is continuing this passion for fishing and passing it along to the next generation. And I'm sensing maybe a theme developing for next year. Maybe we should be looking specifically at strategies for getting youth involved next year. So I want to thank you all for coming here, for the work you've done over the last couple of years, many years, donating time, donating money, donating energy, and we look forward to continuing that work in 2018 and beyond. So thank you all.
Max, that part goes hand in hand. You guys do so much for, I mean, being open-minded like the DNR is up here is so much different from other areas that you go to. Hand in hand, it goes hand in hand. When you've given us things, we also deserve to give you things.
Thanks. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, we'll kind of open it up. If you have questions for any of the groups, our hatchery people have been patiently waiting in the back. We have wardens if we have law enforcement questions. And if you do need to get going, we understand it's late, so feel free to filter out as you need to as well. So, you've been waiting for your question for like an hour. Would you like to ask it now? Do you remember it?
Yes, I do. I live on Grindstone Lake, and I'm a muskie fisherman. Those are inconsistent these days. But Grindstone doesn't have the same problem as LCO with the northern pike.
Right.
But we certainly have a low-density population and poor natural reproduction of any, and probably a forage problem with Cisco's. Any similar approaches to dealing with it?
Yeah, so the question was about Grindstone Lake, the muskie population having some similar problems to what's going on in LCO. The density is very low. We do see some parallels there. I mean, we stock Grindstone pretty hard, similar to what we've done in LCO, and we don't see the returns from that stocking that we think we should. In fact, the returns seem to be about 10 times lower than what we'd expect in other lakes, and that's still a bit of a mystery. Where are those fish going? What's happening to them? We're going to kind of work on that with the LCO problem, and if we can find strategies that work on LCO, maybe stocking bigger fish, maybe trying some different stocking locations or timing, we'll move that over to Grindstone.
What about top of the head?
Yeah.
Stocking some suckers along with the extended growth muskies.
That's a possibility. You know, other lake associations are doing some forage work. Grindstone has more suckers than most lakes, but it still may not have as many as it used to. You know, and same, you talked about Cisco's. That's definitely a whole other area we could get into with challenges Cisco's are facing. perch. So yeah, forage base could be a factor out there. There could be other factors as well, but grindstone and LCO are similar enough. We'll be looking at them together. And we'll be doing more muskie work out there this year.
And I know LCO is a priority, and I agree with that.
Oh no, yeah, we won't forget about grindstone. Don't worry.
How
Joe.
long is the initiative program for stocking, that the DNR is doing for stocking walleyes and all that? Is it another 3 years, 4 years? Is there a timeline?
I'll throw that one. Angelina or Amos, do either of you know how far out the walleye initiative is extended right now?
I'll be honest, it's through the next year, as far as I know.
It's a budget item, so it's kind of as long as they continue to include it in the budget. It's not a permanent funding source. So it was included in the most recent budget, right?
Yes, and we're still considering another biannual budget this coming July.
Do you want to come down and talk about what you're doing with walleye stocking? If you don't want to, that's okay.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit too for the answer you, but I mean, I can try, and I can certainly get back to whatever questions are.
The short answer is you're raising more ponds of walleye at Governor Thompson, so that's a popular thing among this group. Other questions? Do we wear you out? Yes, sir.
I have a home right on the Minnetonka River. I'm in a section just below the Turks. And I've watched this last year when you went and opened it up to PP1 over 14 inches. I've seen that rule just, it's ruining the fishing in that part of the river. Because I've seen people come in the morning, take two, come the evening, take two, come the next morning and take two. And I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be. I think it's one in possession, it's not
Right.
one go home, get rid of it, come back with another one.
Yeah.
And the trees that do fall in by virtue of Mother Nature, the campground group will come through and trim them out in the spring and literally take what should be left there. And it's an area of water that I'm sure doesn't, I mean, we can't put a warden or somebody to just watch something that small or so few.